overview of the registry. It starts out pretty simple. You run your service fs with aux service fs by default, and what it does on startup is it parses this file here, the min services, which is just a null separated list of your services cached to disk, so that on startup it can start to iterate and look for ones that were up last run, which is really handy. By default, your network can have an entry for for your registry. There's mine right there. And all of the tooling will go and do a lookup for the registry IPNet tuple first before firing off anything else, with optional flags if you wanted to do it in another place. And that lets it be kind of network wide and really well integrated, I find. And then after you started your service listener, you'll start like an export fs of that mount services file it builds. And as you can see up here, it's just a basic file system. It has all the files you'd expect: an address, auth DOM, description, status, and uptime. There are a couple of tools I built just around it. Query's nice. You can search for, if I can spell it right, you can search for just raw queries with the dot, and that'll return every entry you have, including all of the uptime if applicable. You can search for specific matches. And that's prefix matches only, so I've actually searched up Chile. It'll look up all three of them. I don't have anything uniquely named at at this moment. And then you can narrow, if you want further than that, by any of these fields, so auth, DOM, status, description, or uptime. Could be useful to narrow by status. It could be something like aux query dot status down and see everything that's service query. There we go. And just see the ones that are down, or just see the ones that are up, for example. By default, if there is an address that it can dial out, like in Chile 3 here, it's that the service exists on port 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you add a listener to that, and it does something useful, the service FS will pull about every 30 seconds. It'll look and go through and see what the service status are, up or down. It'll try to dial them. You can see that reflected here. And when it finds one that's up, it'll change the status, as you can see here, to OK, which means that it's up, it's ready to receive, it can be posted, anything like that. There's another utility called publish, and that's for adding services to the registry from the command line. And you just give a name, like for an address, or none if you don't want, or then you can add a description and the auth DOM if you want it as well, if that was non-standard. And it'll publish the service, which again we can see with our query util right up there. You can drop a service, and that'll remove it from the registry outright. And you can also monitor your services, which is the interesting one. The R flag just sets the polling rate, so every 10 seconds it'll connect to the service FS and look and see any services that have the OK status. It'll dial into them and post the descriptor for you. So and it'll post the descriptor for you into your serve, ready to go, and you can do whatever you want with it. Just like a normal. what's up? Test here. And there's our route that we served up over here. There we are. If this service goes down in the future, whoops, the monitor will go through again and check. It probably won't be reflected instantly because it checks against the service FS, which checks every 30 seconds. So this could be up to a minute later if we were polling at a 30-second rate, which is the default. In this case, it'll be quicker for the video's sake. Oops. It will remove that descriptor outright once that service is down, and then once it comes back up, it'll bring it back up again. And that way your serve directory is kind of a live view of these type of services on the network as well as your normal usage. And that's about it.